Hey friends! As promised, today I want to share how I work the Catherine wheel stitch in the round, which by the way is square in shape. Pair these instructions with any yarn and coordinating hook in your stash, and let's get to it. You'll begin with a slip knot and 4 chains. Then join with a slip stitch to the first chain to form a ring. For the first round, you'll work in the center of your ring and follow this repeat. Chain 3, then make a 4 double crochet cluster, chain 3, and slip stitch in the center of the ring. You'll repeat that 3 more times, so you'll sort of have the making of a square shape. All right, moving on to round number 2, chain 1 and make 12 double crochets in the loop that closed the next cluster. Then find the slip stitch from your previous round and you'll slip stitch there. Then you'll just repeat that for the other 3 corners. All right, now for round 3, slip stitch in the first 4 stitches. You'll want to work these a little loose because you will work into these stitches later on. And now our repeat for this round begins. Chain 3 and make a 4 double crochet cluster. Chain 3 and slip stitch in the next stitch. Now between the scallops here, start off with a chain 3, and then this time we'll make a 6 double crochet cluster. So the first 3 stitches of that cluster are from the same scallop, and be sure to skip your slip stitch. You'll always skip the slip stitch on these 6 double crochet clusters, and then of course the last 3 stitches of that cluster are on the next scallop. When you get that finished, chain 3 and slip stitch into the next stitch. Now you'll just repeat all of that for your other 3 corners. By the way, you'll always find the written instructions for these tutorials in the video description below. For this one, just scroll down below the instructions for how you work the Catherine wheel stitch in rows, and you'll find the instructions for how we're working it now in the round. Okay, moving on to round 4, chain 1 and make 12 double crochets in the loop that closed the next cluster. Something to keep in mind is you'll always work 12 double crochet in the 4 corners of your square as long as you want your square to grow and get bigger. After that, you'll join with a slip stitch to your next slip stitch. Then make 7 double crochets in the loop that closed the next cluster. So from here on, you'll always make 7 double crochets between the corners in these clusters. So remember, corners get 12, the sides get 7. Then when you have all 7 double crochet, you'll slip stitch to the next slip stitch, and of course just repeat all this for the remaining 3 sides of your square. Now, as you saw in the previous video for how to work this stitch in rows, and by the way, if you haven't seen that, I'll have it linked in the video description below as well. When working with the Catherine wheel stitch, it's always a great idea to change colors at the end of your even rows to get that characteristic sort of offset diamond shape, that look. So when you're working it in the round, to change colors, here's what you'll do. Insert your hook into the last slip stitch as if you were finishing the round as normal. But instead of yarning over and finishing that slip stitch with your current color, you're going to grab your new color, make a slip knot, place that loop on your hook, then pull it through the stitch and through the loop on your hook. That'll complete the slip stitch, and that will also fasten on your new color, and you're ready to pick up on the next round. So you're probably getting the hang of the repeat here, and as we move into round 5, we're really not doing anything different. We just have more stitches to work because our sides are getting bigger. Our corners are always worked the same. Slip stitch in the first 4 stitches, chain 3 and make a 4 double crochet cluster. Then chain 3 and slip stitch in the next stitch to finish that off. And then we have our 6 double crochet clusters to make in between the scallops for our side. Remember, always chain 3, then work your 6 double crochet cluster. You're skipping the slip stitch at the very bottom. When you're finished with the cluster, you'll chain 3 and slip stitch in the next stitch. So to make your square continue to grow, I touched on this before, but I want to touch on that a little more because I know you want to make things like blankets and bigger projects with these squares. So you're following the same repeat of 2 rounds. You have a scallop round and you have a cluster round. The only thing that changes as you're growing and as you add more and more rounds is the number of scallops and the number of 6 double crochet clusters that occur on the sides of your square as it continues to grow. Now let's say you want to stop increasing to make a tubular round. You want your sides to sort of curve upward for something like a hat or maybe even a bag. To do that, you're not changing anything with the repeat. The only thing that you'll change is that you will reduce the number of double crochets in the corners from 12 to 7. Everything else stays the same. That's exactly what I'm doing for a hat pattern that'll be available at BHooked.com next week. I'm also experimenting with a great new way to add a band to the hat, so this project you won't want to miss if you're looking to up your hat making game. So what you can do to be alerted when that pattern is available is, if you aren't already subscribed to my email newsletter, go ahead and do that now by visiting bhooked.com/newsletter, or you can click on the link in the description below. And as soon as that pattern is available, I'll send an email to my subscribers letting them know, so be sure to sign up today so that you can get that email from me next week when the pattern comes out. That's all for now, friend. Thank you so much for watching, for subscribing and liking and commenting, and of course for your continued support over the years of the B.Hooked Crochet YouTube channel. All of that allows me to keep bringing you tutorials and sharing this craft that we both love so much. Happy hooking, and I'll see you in the next one.